The heck? What did I do? I broke something. But rain or shine, broken something or not, the podcast must go on. The Great American Podcast. Do you guys like my shoe? My Buckeyes are number one. That's right. You see this? The Ohio State parking, baby. That's right. Ohio State, number one. Indiana, number two. Can you believe that? Two Big Ten teams. 1 and 2, NCAA Football. Tell you, man, the playoffs are the best thing that happened to NCAA Football. It used to piss me off. I was like, what the heck is a bowl? Like, how do you qualify to a bowl? And it's always like two conferences playing, like either SEC or Big Ten, and it used to piss me off. Like, what if you're like breakout team? All of a sudden, like West Virginia breaks out, but they can't get to be number one because of they didn't have the clout. But now, thanks to the playoffs, if you got the skills, you got the team, you can make it. And also, here's the best part. Back then, like these big name schools, they would like hog up all the good players. Like if you're a good quarterback and you'd be like, hey, I want to play for Buckeyes. But then you, at Ohio State, you'd be a second tier, and then you can't like transfer out, and that's a big process. So you're stuck. And the next thing you know, you could have made it to NFL, but now because you're stuck as a second tier, nobody saw you, and then all of a sudden, there's always these like quarterback controversies, and then one guy's career just like gets killed for no reason. But now they got this system or whatever, where people like literally they sign up, they're like, hey, I'm free agent next year, because over here they got another guy, and I think they're going to go with that guy, that direction, and that means I don't have to die out here, wither away here. And next thing they know, they find another team and they take their skills there and bring their team to the playoffs, and then you never know, you got an awesome story with a cool drama. That's what I'm saying. That's why I like NCAA football. All right, back to the podcast, the Great American Podcast, episode 3. We're here. Thank you for being here with me. If you are one of those like 2 people that saw all 3 episodes, kudos to you. Thank you. As always, I got the flag in the back. Don't be thinking like, oh, wait a minute, is this brown guy a racist? No, sir, I'm not a racist. Racist people were claiming the flag, and I took it back and I put it here. And as I always say, if it makes you feel better, it's made in China. I wore this thing, so I'm not wearing my glasses today, my cool blue glasses, because that looks ridiculous. Like, hat and glasses, I don't know, that just looks so weird. Maybe not, I'm just overthinking. But now that I got these lights in my eyes, can you guys see my face? This beautiful face. You know what I found out today? It's kind of cool. I found out that the Chinese calendar, they believe history repeats every 60 years. And their calendar repeats every 60 years. And then I realized our Telugu calendar also does that. They have 60 years, the cycle starts again, the names restart. And then I found out, like even though there's little variations, most of the Indian calendars are like that. Nepalese calendars, like Eastern, that whole area, their calendars are like that. I wonder what's the reason. It's probably because their cultures were all influencing each other. We're all one people, just divided by insecurities. I believe in this, and this got to be the only truth. This is the only truth. If you don't believe in my truth, you will go to hell. And you should erase all your books. Because all your books, whatever your people gave you for thousands and thousands of years, are all bullshit. Because we got a book for you. I'm talking about every religion, dude. It's just nuts. It's how people, they get insecure, and then they I guess that's like the cult culture. You're insecure, and then you look validation through other people by increasing your numbers. Like, you just want more people to believe in what you believe for you to think that you are right. Isn't that weird? But if you think about it, all of the religions are literally about meditation, like meditation between you and your God. And every religion, one way or the other, says like, your religion is between you and your God. Your conversation is between you and your God. That's simple. You don't have to cram your beliefs on other people. I mean, we made a pact in this society. Like back in the day, we were all like animals, right? Like I wake up, I go hunt for some food, and I find my food, I find my place where I can camp out. And if there is a woman who's willing to share my life, she'll be there with me, and then we camp out there, and then we keep doing our thing, we lived. And then along the way, all the people came and they said, hey, there is more strength in being together. Let's all live in a village together. I help you. I know you're not good at making fire. I can make the fire, but you're good at killing the deer. And then he's good at gutting the deer. And then I can cook it for you guys. Let's all team up and we share resources. That's how the societal agreements came. Which means like, I got my little house. I'm going to live in my little house with my family, minding my own business. I don't care what you all do out there. I'm going to live in my little house with my family. And once in a while, I got to go tell some jokes at a club in front of willing people. So I made this pact with the society. I'm going to live in my little house, do my thing. When I come out there, I need a road. I'll pay my taxes so I could have a road and like whatever the facilities. Other than that, I got nothing to do with you. If I'm out there like bothering someone and then, take me and like punish me, whatever. But like, as long as I bother nobody, I do what I do. Just leave me alone. That is the agreement, right? But now everybody is like trying to be up in my business, trying to tell me how I gotta live my life. I'm gonna live my life however I wanna live. You got a problem with it, don't live with me. But don't tell me how I gotta live in my life unless I'm like messing up your way of life, which I'm not doing by living my life. Just go do your own thing and don't tell me how to be, and I won't tell you how you should be. Okay, maybe because I do a podcast, but you don't have to listen to me. If you like it, you listen to me. If you don't like it, just say like this dumbass comedian, I don't have to listen to him, and then move on. And in my head, I'm not going to take it as an offense. It's just like you're not in that state in your life where you are like, hey, I understand this guy. Maybe you are beyond me or you are behind me. I mean, that's the way I look at everybody in the world. Like, we're not always think the same way because we are not in the same stage of evolution in our thought process. Like when I was a kid, someone got me as a gift a little badminton racket, right? And I didn't know what to do with it. They just put it in my hand. I was like, maybe, like I was literally like not even preschool, like 2 years, 3 years old. And I was sitting in my back, on the stairs in the back of our house, and there's a bunch of like black ants, those big ones. And they're usually pretty harmless unless you like get in there and bother them. And I was like, just like, kind of like putting obstacles to them. And one of them caught up on my hand because I was using my hand to put obstacles on their path. One of them got up on my hand and like literally like curled up and bit me so hard. And it hurt me, and I got so upset. I got upset at that ant and its entire clan, right? So I started just using my racket to just like slamming on all these ants and killing them. And then my aunt saw me do that. She came and grabbed the racket from my hand and just slammed me right on my head, like boom, 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 boom. And I was like, why are you doing that? Why are you hitting me? She's like, how does that feel? How does that feel? How does that feel? I was like, oh, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. And she's like, then stop doing it to those ants. Never again. Never again did I bother another ant. I stayed away from those ants. At that point in my life, I did not have that lesson. So I didn't know the whole thing about, okay, it hurts them, so it hurts me, so I shouldn't do it to them. Because I wasn't in that state. And some people get to that state early. Some people are like 50 years old and don't get it. I got lucky, my aunt smacked it into me when I was 3. But I don't have to hate them. I don't have to hate the person, but I hate that they're in that position, mentally not there yet. And I wish they would get there. And through my podcast, I hope people would see the point of live and let live. So that's my point. That wasn't even I actually wrote a bunch of things that I'm going to talk about. Not a bunch, but 5 or 6. But I didn't even touch them yet. There, I ranted already. Did you guys hear about this poly market betting thing? So basically, they are like for example, before the elections, everybody is betting you can bet who's going to win. Either it's going to be Trump or Biden. The whole whatever games are basically every event. It's another gambling but they're not really. You're not also gambling. They're also using that to predict the trends. So based on how many people are voting one way. I'm not talking about games because you can't really influence it based on how people are voting, but I'm talking about elections and stuff like that, or what people think, the trends in thoughts, what are people thinking about, and what do you think would be the outcome. So it's people are kind of predicting their outcome. If there is an election, I'm predicting that I knew Trump was going to win. I've been saying this forever. That is actually one of my bit too. It's dude, this guy is invincible. He got a refund from a prostitute. That was my line. So you know what I'm saying. So if I had to bet, I would be Trump is going to win. And then people based on that, they're taking, I don't know what's going on. It's they're trying to predict how people are going to lean toward. I don't know how they're going to make money. Right now, they're not really making any money because they're not taking any commissions on the bets unless they're going to sell those trends to people. But then what's the point if those trends are not public? So nobody's going to buy them if they're public. I'm not going to take the poll unless I could see the results of the poll because there is no interest for me. I wonder how they're going to make money. One of the biggest things that surprised me was it is very rare for kids in India when I was growing up. Most of the people are poor or middle class. So there is a lot of struggle at home front, in terms of financially. But they never said I never met a friend that said they hated their parents. But then when I moved to America, one of the first thing that really surprised me was one of my classmates said I hate my parents. And then he's really rich. And then I've seen this pattern a lot of times. Rich parents, kids of rich parents don't like their parents. And I'm why? Is it because they think their parents are making money unethically, so they have no respect for their parents? Whereas middle class people, kids who are seeing the struggle their parents are going through are more they see it. So I mean, like I saw my parents struggled to get to where they are, and I saw them struggle, so I have a lot of respect for what they did. Like my dad literally, he was 39 years old when I was in 7th grade, and 7th grade is where they give you this test the entire country, and that kind of determines how good you are academically. And I would say I passed, but I was barely passed. Hindi was my Achilles heel. Hindi, you only need 35 points out of 100 to pass. And boy, I got 36. And I know the teacher probably was like, I probably got like 33. I barely passed. And that's when my dad is like, my dad, he got the interview from the embassy, I think when I was in my 3rd grade. And at the time, my dad was working as an Indian doctor in Nalamalai forest area, and he was loving his job, even though it's a pretty remote area, but he was very proud of it. And he was like, I'm serving my people, I don't want to go to America. And then like my 7th grade, he pulls out that letter that he got from the embassy, and he called the US embassy like, hey, I got this letter, inviting me for an interview for green card. What should I do? Can I come now? It's been 3 years. And they were like, well, you never responded, so your file was never closed, so you can come. So we went and we went to the interview and all. Like basically, I influenced my parents to come here. So at 39, my dad is 39. He like literally like he knows when he comes to America, he has to take those exams again, the USMLE exams, which is like the finals for medical students here. He took the risk, and a lot of people, even like younger people that just literally went to med school in India and came here, because of English or whatever, they struggle and they actually eventually give up. But my dad finished it, like it took him like 3-4 years, but he did it while working and feeding 2 kids and a wife and a family, and he did it. So I saw the struggle. So there would never be, like, you'll have to torture me for you to say, and literally I'd be like, at that point I'd be like, you know what, my parents would want me to say that I hate them, so I would not be in pain. So if someone is like torturing me to say, hey, do you hate your parents? I'd be like, yeah, sure. But other than that, I don't think I would ever say that. But I heard that from a lot of like rich kids. And that's why like greedy people think about that. Your kids don't respect you. If you're a greedy ass dude, just like screwing over people left and right, thinking like, oh, my kids are going to enjoy all this money, they're going to enjoy it. They're going to think of you as a dick. You go down the history as a dick. And if you're one of those like really brutal dudes, for generations they'll remember you. Like your people that have your last name, they'll change it. Like look at the world, like how many people you know that got last name as Hitler. Talking about that, there is a African politician who was named Adolf Hitler. His dad thought this guy is I don't know what the heck his dad thought he named him, but I've seen that Indian people. I've seen Indian people name their kids like Stalin and like Lenin and stuff like that because they're like communists and they think they're cool. And I don't think I've seen anybody named Hitler in India, but I've seen movies named like when a dude is ruthless in a movie, like I have a movie where like it's like a ruthless dude's name is like Hitler. I've seen movies named like that. So that's how I'm saying. If you're an evil bastard, your kids will hate you. And how do you tell you're an evil bastard is how greedy you are. So remember that. You guys like my shirt? I was going to wear a Christmas sweater for real, like an ugly sweater. But then my wife is like, Vishnu, like be presentable. Like don't be there like a jackass. You're doing a podcast and you're trying to like get people to watch you. You got to be presentable. I hope I am presentable. Look at my hat, like, the shoe. Ohio State. Go Bucks. I mean, if you're from Michigan too, I love you. You're in my channel. I love you. But still, we can have that rivalry, dude. Like, we are the number one. Anyways, so this is a Indian freedom fighter named Alluri Sita Ramaraju. Alluri Sita Ramaraju. If you saw the movie RRR, the character Ram, the police officer, is kind of loosely inspired from him. When he was a kid, he went to the banks of Godavari. His town is on the banks of Godavari River, And there was a British police officer that came across. And usually in India, even now, when you say police officer, you say good morning, sir, or like something like that. You wish them. So back then, kids, I mean, especially kids, you see a armed person, you are not armed, like uniform person, you always wish them. I guess it's something that British kind of like made sure we did that, and it kind of passed on. But anyways, like he ran over to that police officer, the British guy, and he's like, good morning, sir. And the guy didn't even like acknowledge him and walked away, and he was kind of hurt. And his dad told him, like, pulled him aside. He's like, don't ever do that again. Those people are not, they're here looting us, and they're exploiting us. They're not here for our good. They're not, they're evil rulers. You don't ever do that again. And this was when he was like 6 or something. And by the time he was 11, his father died of cholera, a waterborne disease, and without health care. At the time, his father died. So his mom and him, they moved to his uncle's house. There he learned to ride horses and fight. And when he was around 18 years old, by then, like, everybody knew, like his uncle knew he's not going to study, he's not going to be working in the farm, and his uncle was worried what is going to happen to him. And he was like, I'm going to go check out the country. So he went on a national tour. He became a sannyasi. He took celibacy, he became a sannyasi, and he went walking, traveling entire India, and he saw the suffering. He traveled for a year, and then he came to the forest area where eventually he started his armed struggle. Came there as a sannyasi, and he stayed there for a while, just observing people. That's where he realized the people are really struggling, because there are tribal people in a forest. The way they used to farm is it's called poddu cultivation. It's like they don't cultivate one land all the time. They keep moving within the forest. They'll just, like this year, they will farm this patch of land, and then they'll move somewhere else and they'll farm that patch of land, and then they'll move somewhere else. And that kind of like continues to replenish the forest. They were also like, it was a very ecologically preserving way, and they've been doing it for centuries, and they were very happy. But British came and they wanted to deforest and get all the wood, so they banned them from doing their way of cultivation, which means they don't have a livelihood. And then they were forced to work for British to build roads and for logging the forests, and they were not paying them well. A lot of it was forced labor. They were not happy, and they were struggling. British officers were brutal. They were violating their women. It was just a horrible situation. They removed all the tribal leaders and they appointed a British person as a head. And now all these tribal people have to go to the British person who doesn't care about them. And these people were basically coming to this sannyasi, sitting at the outskirts of their they call them gudems. Gudem is like the place where they live. And they would go to him and tell them their problems. Eventually, they were asking him for settling their disputes, and through them he found out what is going on and how horrible it was. So he started training the locals in warfare, and decided to start an armed conflict against British. This is a 22-year-old kid. Initially, he had to equip his people with weapons. So he would attack police stations where they would have weapons, and he was like, so like his style is he would warn them like 2 days before, and he would send a letter through someone, or sometimes it's just an arrow shot into the police station with a letter attached to it, and the letter would read like, in 2 days we're going to attack this police station. If you got guts, protect your weapons. If you don't have guts, run away. And he hit 8 stations. Initially, those guys were like, they tried to fight him. They lost. He's very good at guerrilla warfare. His people are very well trained. These guys would attack police stations after warning them. And he hit 8 of them eventually. all of them with warning. He's equipped his people with guns, weapons from the police station. It became a full-scale rebellion. I think it was called Ramappa Rebellion. It really shook the British to the core, because their entire the loot that was coming from the British was stopped. There was no deforesting happening. People went back to their own way of cultivating, the original way of cultivating, basically defying the British law. So the British had to get battalions that are elsewhere to come and quell this rebellion, and they couldn't. They struggled because this guy was so good with the terrain, and the locals, they know the terrain. There was no way British soldiers who never been to India, they just couldn't even fight the mosquitoes. Forget about finding these guys. These guys were deep within the forest. They would hit them and they would be gone. The guerrilla warfare, and it took a lot of toll on British, to a point where British soldiers were scared. They started calling him a illusion, because that's how fast these guys were. Like by the time they knew they were hit. And so they started, because they couldn't get to him or his people, they started torturing those people's families. They were attacking their women, they were killing their kids, they were torching their villages. And that brought out some of his people to give up this fight. And out of them, his two best buddies who fought with him, Gantam Dora, who's a tribal leader, and a Mallu Dora, they both are brothers. They both were caught. Basically, Mallu Dora, I think, he was tortured to give up his brother, and then he was tortured and killed. And his brother was caught, Gantam Dora, and he was sent to Kalapani prison, which is Andaman Island. So that's where he pretty much died. And they couldn't get to Ramaraju, Alluri Sita Ramaraju. Alluri is his last name. But he also was losing heart, because all his people are dying. They're not fighting fair anymore. They're going after the people, their families. And eventually, they finally found him once, and that too because he basically gave up. He was openly, if you guys know yoga, he was doing Surya Namaskars. He does them every day, morning and evening. He was doing his Surya Namaskarams early morning in front of a river. The British soldiers got a hint. Someone, basically, the story is that he sent a message to the British leader saying, like, I'll be here, you can find me here, and you can arrest me, and you can stop torturing everybody else. You want me, you can have me. So, but the thing is, when the soldiers came, they were scared. They literally can't even believe this guy was, they don't even know how he looks. He was so fast. Like, for them, it's like a illusion. Like, would he disappear? Is he planning something on us? We don't know what to do. So they just shot him from the back. They didn't even give him a chance. He was literally doing his yoga. I guess that's the best way to go for a warrior like him. He was doing his Surya Namaskaras, and they shot him in the back while he was performing his Surya Namaskaras. That is like sun salutations in yoga. And even then, they were so scared that it's still a trick that he would come back and get them, that they tied him to a cart and carried his dead body to their station to verify it is really him. And that's how his struggle against Britain ended. And he was, you know how old he was when he died? He was 26 years old. A 26 years old kid showed British people hell for 2 years. British soldiers, not people, British invaders, British looters, hell for 2 years. And they were so scared of him. And I love his story, because I used to think, like, we're just one person. How much difference can we make? Because I don't know, this whole universe, the greed of people, the inhumanity among people bothers me. Why so much difference? Why so much hate? Why do we got to make, why there is so much oppression? That's what I don't get. Like, why do we have to make other people suffer so we could have good life? I mean, what kind of a life is that? How are we tolerating this? Like, be it whatever the reason, like, you call it capitalism, greed, or, you know, whatever, I know some people are like, hey, winners get it, losers lose. This is the law of the land or whatever. But that's more like a jungle law. Survival of the fittest is a jungle law. That is for animals. We're human beings. We can do better than that. We can protect our people. Don't you think? I mean, we made a pact, right? We're all people. We're going to protect each other. Beasts protect themselves. Every animal that has whatever, I know we look at animals, we look down at animals, right? Like they got no brains, they don't know what the heck they're doing. But we look down on them. But if you think about it, they're probably actually better than us, right? Like we don't even have that basic sense of protecting each other. If someone is down, we kick them. We are supposed to be the top of the, what do you call, the cream of the crop, the top of the life cycle, the people, man made in the image of the God, but we are the worst. I mean, in fact, we literally kill each other in the name of God. How messed up is that? Right now, Indians, Hindus and Muslims, like, I'm not talking about extremists, I'm talking about the middle people. If you really believe in both the religions, in fact, every religion in the world, they all talk about meditation. That is the core. Like the Islam scholars, they talk about meditation. It's like God is great, we believe in God, and we there are a lot of philosophies within Islam. And if you look at Hindus, like, so many books, so many philosophies, like from Vedas, we don't even know who wrote Vedas, they're that old. They think Vedas are given to us as manuals by gods. Or maybe there was a superior civilization before us. And if you look at all the temples that are built, nowadays you see all these videos, there was a temple like the other day Joe Rogan was talking about it, the temple that was literally carved up. And growing up, we know about it, but the world didn't know about it. And when they call us like uncivilized or whatever, it's like, but we have all these things, and how come you guys don't know about it, but you say you know everything? And so like those ancient things, they're all coming out now. Technology is here, so we're figuring out more stuff. But Vedas are supposed to be, like, I guess, as written, they were probably destroyed, so they actually gave people instructions on how to memorize Vedas. So when you recite Vedas, there is a a musical, like, pitch, tune, rhythm to them. The whole, like, the laws of the music they have, and also they're carefully choreographed even with the body movement. So when I Veda Brahmin, you guys can check out some videos. I'll try to find some and put them here, and you can see even the body language is literally like choreographed, because they don't want to lose the meaning. Because if you pronounce one word differently, the meaning might change, but they don't want the meaning to change. So that's how they protected them. And there are so many philosophies, but we keep, like, getting pulled into these, like, side arguments. Like, Muhammad, peace be upon him, like, if someone who hates Islam, they go after, like, Muhammad married some 6-year-old child or whatever, like. And then if you look at Hindus, they like, if they want to attack Hindus, it's like, oh, you guys drink cow urine. Nobody drinks cow urine, not that I know of. And it's just like they make up this hatred. Like, they find reasons to hate, like, hey, we hate them because they hate us. And how do you know they hate you? Because, well, that's what I heard. That's what you never read their books, they never read your books, but you both assume we both hate each other. They think the previous governments favored Muslims, now this government is favoring Hindus, so this is our time to take advantage of this. But you might be righting some wrongs of the history or whatever, I'll go in depth into that, because even those people that attacked India, I think they were not really representatives of Islam. They more used Islam as a tool to justify their actions. Like, for example, like when Khilji, Muhammad Ghori, Ghazni, when they attacked India to loot, these guys are not religious scholars. They traveled on horses for like hundreds of hours to get here because they were expecting some loot, but now they got to justify to steal it from these people. And they see this beautiful woman walking around uncovered, and now they have to justify their sexual wantings. So how do you excuse that, to go after them? So now you got to use, like, because if you look at Islam, it says if you kill one person, you kill like the entire humanity. So how do you go kill someone and take their stuff? Maybe you can, like, add something there for your convenience. So you add a little thing there, like, oh, they're not Muslims, so they're not humans. But that is something they added for their convenience. And like now you talk about, recently they were talking about child marriages in India. How did they come into picture? Because of that, these people would come and take kids as young as 11 or 12, but because they're using Islam as a tool, the locals realized they were not touching married women. Because if someone is married, then they're not, by religion they cannot touch. Again, Islam is not them. They are using Islam, like, they added their concepts to use it as a tool to justify their actions. So people were marrying off their kids as young as like 6, 7, just so when someone would attack their village and try to grab their kid, they'd be like, you can't touch her, she's married. And now they're forced to go away. A lot of social evils come into picture not because of the people are evil, it's because of the situations they are in. That's why, like, I really think we shouldn't hate people, we should hate the circumstances they're using to justify their actions. And we need to eradicate the circumstances and then educate those people. Like, child marriages literally came because no parent would like marry off their daughter at 11 or 9. And a lot of times when they marry, they don't send them to the guy. It's more like they wait till they're older, but technically they're married and they're like stuck for life. That's where these arranged marriages and all these things came, because for protection, you just arrange a marriage quickly and say these two are married. Now you can't take her away from us. And that's a coping mechanism. Like sati is when a husband dies, like the wife would jump on the pyre and kill herself. There were not too many cases of it that happened, but there was that. And that also came into picture during that time, because again, they won't touch the married woman, but they added another logic. If you're not Muslim, you're not human. They could justify taking a widowed woman without her approval or acceptance. And a lot of Rajput women, when they hear their men died, Rajputs are the area, Gujarat and Punjab, that's where a lot of wars happen. So a lot of these customs are in those areas. Like, for example, like until I came to America, I didn't know what is sati. When people in America was accusing of me and my people doing sati, I'm like, what is sati? I went and asked my mom, like, Mom, what is sati? And my mom is like, oh, that's something like North Indian people, I guess, do. I don't know. I heard about it. And then, I read about it, and I was like, and then I read more, because why would there be such a cruel custom? And then I found out women, when they had those like wars, the initial wars, when their men were died, they knew that next, one of the rules in the ancient Indian warfare is like, there are rules, and one of the rules is like, you don't attack your enemy in the night, you don't attack their women and children, you don't enter their antapur. Antapur is the inside cabin of the fort where women and children live. and no matter, you can occupy it, but you could not enter it. You give them a free passage out of the fort, women and children. That is the rule of the Indian warfare, like Yuddha Dharma. But these guys are not aware of those rules, and for them, they came from thousands of miles. They're looking for women and money, and they made this thing to their logic that, hey, if you are not a married woman, you are free. We can grab you. So these divorced women were like literally setting up pyres and jumping in them and killing themselves. And later on, these villages, when people would come, and when someone's husband died, and the thing is, when they do these child marriages, a lot of times in those times with not a very good health, health facilities, people would die, and then now they're worried, and they were forcing these kids. But even then, what I read, there were not too many instances of it, because it's just a cruel custom. Who would do it? But that's these kind of extreme things come from extreme duress. That's why I say, don't hate people, hate the situation, the circumstances that put us there. If animals can get together with their same kind, why can't humans? Why do we have so many differences? Why do we dwell on so many differences? Every time it's to justify our greed. We look down on the people in the past. We talk about, oh, we had Renaissance, and we figure we evolved, and we are great thinkers now, and we are great philosophers. Yet we spend all our money building on weapons. Like a missile costs millions of dollars. To dump it on somebody's house. Make it make sense. Why? Why would you do that? And I was reading about cancer research. They don't have enough money for kids' cancer. If I make a joke about cancer in a comedy, even if the joke is funny, people won't laugh. They'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe you made a joke about cancer. How horrible are you? That's what we say. But we don't have enough funding to give for cancer research. Imagine that, especially for kids, because they're tiny, and if to find this, they need finer tools, smaller tools and more research, because the way it progresses in kids versus adults is different, and there is not enough money put in research for kids. Right now, we could solve a lot of problems if we put money, to cure a lot of these physical problems. We can literally get to immortality if we put enough money. With the way, the biggest achievement, people make all these images on using AI, but that's the dumbest way to spend all that. If you have a great story to tell, go for it. But all that resources, we can right now, we have better chance of deciphering a lot of biological data that we have, because this is a lot of each gene, and the way our body, how each gene impacts everything. If it's it's multiple combinations, each combination makes a difference, and when those combinations go, even it's if you have two versus, if you have two digits, there's two combinations. But when you have 4 digits, I think you have 8 combinations. It's exponentially growth. So with these genes and these cells and the cell biology within our body, and all these enzymes and all these things playing a factor in how our body runs, there are infinite amount of possibilities that we need to figure out what happens to find out solutions for all the physical ailments, including aging and death. If we only could put that money, if you're really rich right now and you're not investing in living forever, which means figuring out how to solve these diseases, you're an idiot. You have the resources. I'm calling all the top 50, 100 richest men in the world, richest men, women, richest people in the world, you're all idiots if you're not spending that money on figuring out to solve our biological problems, and including the governments, like all this money. You're idiots. Like Hindus and Muslims in India, you're fighting. You're being idiots. If you think about it, of all, like, I was talking about all these things, how Islam came into India, and then, but the thing is, a lot of people that are Muslims in India right now were actually converted at that time. So we should feel empathy for them, like they're Muslims, but they're our people. They were part of us. In fact, they struggled more. And we only need, and they know that too. They don't hate us. We don't have to hate them. It's like hate, bigots hate. We need to like stop thinking everybody's an extremist. And they need to stop thinking we're all extremists too, because a lot of Hindus are not. Just because BJP is in power doesn't mean all the Hindus hate Muslims. The only reason BJP is in power in India is because there is no other choice. Look at the other choice we got. That is like fourth generation Nepo kid. And they're dumb. Like, how do you keep on thinking? It's not like a feudal system. Like, why does your son and your grandson and his son gotta be the leaders of the political party? Like, give it a chance to someone else. There are plenty of other good leaders in Congress. If you really want to win the election next year, like, have someone. I don't know what's his name. Like, I'll write it down right here, his name, because I can't think of it right now, but I'm going to put it right here. He would be a good candidate. Just put some good candidate. Like, get rid of the losers. Like, don't blame the people when you don't give them an option. There is nobody else other than Modi that is, like BJP right now in India. That is a, people are not sitting there like, if you want to hate India, you keep going to think about like Godhra, and you got the both sides, Godhra incident, and then you got the killing after that. So there's a lot of killing that happened under Modi's government in Gujarat. I agree, but people are not thinking about it because that is a fight between that local group of people. And there is the opposition party in India sucks. So there is no option for Indians to vote for anybody else. Either do you vote for development and hope for a better life, or vote for the same dumb idiots that held you back for the past 60 years, sold your country to British. So that's really why. Like, you don't have to hate Indian people for having BJP in the power. But like, if you look at BJP, like Modi is going to all these Islamic countries and making deals with them. Heck, look at like who's with who. They're all like making deals. Like Saddam Hussein, like Trump goes to Qatar and they give him a plane, and like he's friends with Syria, Iran. Like, he'll be friends with Iran if they let him build like a Trump hotel in Tehran. Like, next day, like Iran would be friends. But in India, Hindus and Indians, Pakistanis and Bangladeshis are fighting with each other because of religion. The reason we are fighting, because this whole thing is instigated among us, is because to keep us down. They know if Indians, the subcontinent works together, we would be like one of the formidable forces that they cannot beat. And that's why, till I came here, I didn't get to hang out with like Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. And once I came here, and I'm like, dude, they're pretty chill people too. They probably taught to hate me, and I'm probably taught to hate them because we are all playing into the game of the Westerns, the colonizers. In fact, like right now, the Kashmir is like directly correlated to American actions in Afghanistan. How many people know that? In 1970s, Afghanistan had a communist leader, elected a communist leader into power. Maybe Soviets helped them or whatever, but think about it, like how extreme that is. Like a religious, like right now, Taliban ruled country was once a communist country. And Americans couldn't take it, so they made a deal with Pakistan, and Pakistan made a deal. I'm an American. I'm a great American. There's a flag right there. I love this country, but some of the things this country did are horrible, especially in that area. They made a deal with Pakistan to introduce Wahhabi religious extremist ideology into their madrasa curriculum. And that curriculum was designed in Nebraska. Think about that. In Nebraska, they designed books that teach people to hate Americans. And those books were designed by American professors. I mean, American like experts. And they were introduced into Pakistani madrasas to train soldiers to fight the communists in Afghanistan. And eventually they won. And there are accounts I read in Kashmir how like Hindus and Muslims were all like getting along in Kashmir in 80s. In 80s, and suddenly like there was this interview by this lady, Kashmiri lady, Muslim lady. She was like, we were all free, we were all playing outside, and one day these posters appeared, telling the people like women need to cover up. I mean, they were all Muslims, Hindus, they were all following their faiths, but they were all free and having fun. And all of a sudden, these things appeared on the walls, telling them, women, kids, girls need to be covered up. They can't go to schools and all these like rules. And then you guys can watch Kashmir Files, like how Hindus were killed at the time. But those came directly from the madrasa schools in Pakistan that were taught by the curriculum that is designed in Nebraska. How fucked up is that? But that is the fact. Like you guys can chat GPT. Like I literally found that out in chat GPT. Just messed with my head. All for what? Just so they could defeat Soviets. And then once the Soviets left, Americans left, and those people that were trained in those madrasas took control of Afghanistan. And I'm telling you the history of Afghanistan. And they were not nice to the locals. They set up checkposts. They were like violating women. They would set up checkposts outside villages. They were violating women. They were charging money for people to just do regular business. With just leave their village and go somewhere else and do some business, come back, they got to pay taxes. Women were being harassed. Eventually the religious people had enough of it, and Taliban formed, and they kicked those mujahideen out, and Taliban came into power, and then the whole thing happened, 9/11 or whatever. America went to war with Taliban, and Taliban left, and then you got those why do you think they failed? Pakistan left. The might of America is behind the Afghan government, and they failed. Why? Because those same people that were harassing their citizens came back into power when Taliban left. Yeah, Taliban were strict and they were against women's rights and all these things. They were against, these are all like products of the madrasas. This is the curriculum that is given by Americans. And the same thing, during the same time the Afghanistan war ended, those guys didn't have any other reason to, they had to fight someone. And then the Pakistan used that opportunity to gear them toward Kashmir in India. And all of a sudden you have things like Kashmir Files, like the brutal killings of Hindus there, and then now you put a wedge between Hindus and Muslims, and they're fighting. And who suffers? We suffer. Like the people, why are we all here in other countries and they're telling us to get out and there is so much hate? I mean, I love America. I'm telling you, I'm American. You can't tell me to go. I've been here. I'm grateful for this, and this is a great country, and people are good. Most people are good. But what this government did was horrible. And more than that, as much as I want to complain about what British did or Americans did, I also am like, we need to wake the fuck up. Stop dividing ourselves in the name of religions and castes or whatever, and get together. Like imagine the power, the might of the human. Like dude, like half the world is right there in subcontinent. If India, China, Pakistan become friends, and then become India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka become friends, and then the China joins hand, and Russians are, and you know how they have like NATO, America, and like all these white countries got together. They have free trade among them. You know, they would loot Africa, but they're free trading. Imagine if all the African countries were, the same thing. They won't let African countries unite. Why? Because if they unite, you're not going to get cheap resources from them. They're going to want their part of the pie, and they don't want to give them their part of the pie. They would rather they suffer. And the excuse they gave themselves is they're not our skin color. They're not our kind of people. So let them suffer. And we, Africans, the same thing. They're fighting in the name of religion or whatever, and basically enabling these Western countries to use us. And I think it's time we brown people also wake up. I'm not saying like go and kill white people. I'm not saying that go and attack other people. No, just like wake up, have a revelation like, dude, we need to stop worrying about stupid things like religion and all those things, and actually focus on making a better life. Like think about it, like have a race, India, Pakistan. Whoever has a better economy, like I know they both are not starting at zero, but wherever you start, like, from there to the improvement, whatever the percentage improvement, whoever has a more should get Kashmir. Because if they both are successful, does it matter which country the Kashmir belongs to if people are happy? I mean, would Canada and America have a dispute? Think about that. The only reason there's a dispute is because people are suffering. They're easy to be easy. They're gullible because they're looking for hope, and some people give them false hope, and that's where we got to. The intellectuals in these countries need to wake the fuck up and tell people like, dude, like let's not fight about these stupid things like religion and all these things. Let's get together and work for the progress of our people. If people are happy, there won't be any problems. And the worst part is America is falling into that trap. American people are falling into that trap. That's what scares me. It's like the thing that I did not want to happen. I literally, one of the reasons I love India. I love people everywhere. I love all the people. But I'm like, one of the reasons my family came here is because we thought here these people are more evolved and they don't fall for that stupid like deviations or differences among people. Like, hey, based on religion or whatever, like there's freedom for all, like equal rights and right to speech, like you have a right to say what you think, like, and things like, if I might not, I'm not agree with what you're saying, but I respect your right to say it, those powerful things. That's what I'm talking about. And those values are being gone now. Now people are getting selfish, like, they're like, oh, I'm Republican and I'm going to stand for this. If you don't believe in this, you should die. And I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal. If you don't, there's no like teaching each other. Like, how about we exchange ideas? Like, don't hate the person, like hate the place he is at. Why are you being like, a lot of times these racist people, their racism comes from their insecurity. They're scared. Like, let's assure them, let's have a conversation. Like, why do you hate me? I mean, I understand back in the day, you were taking advantage of black people and that hate helped you. But now we all accepted, we moved from that, right? And now you can't go back. Those days are over. Now you got to sneak in. That's why they got these prison systems where they're putting more black people in prisons so they could get free labor. But we are catching on to these deviations, these schemes. So now, let's not fall like as people, like, when you hate someone, you're falling into that trap. You're literally playing into the hands of those greedy fucks. The same people, when COVID came, All the poor white people and all the black people, all the poor white people, all the poor black people, all the poor Asian people, all the poor Indian people are all, everybody is here. I mean, everywhere in the world, just stayed on the land and fighting with each other. But where were the rich people? They were in their yachts, out in the ocean, partying it up. Because they got no reason to worry, because there is no COVID out in the ocean in their yachts. They were pre-screened. They were having house parties. They literally spent that whole year partying. They didn't know what was going on here. We were fighting. We were all arguing online, social media. We can't go out, so we were arguing with each other. I mean, I'm good. I'm glad we had those conversations. But now we got to realize that we got to make the hate is what is the reason for our misery. Hate is the reason we have to make all these weapons, and these weapons cost so much, but we don't have money for treating diseases like cancer. The main problem is hate, because we are falling into the trap of hate. And we're being manipulated by greedy people. And the worst part is it doesn't even work for the greedy people, the rich people. Because if you could stop this fighting and invest those resources in actually finding solutions for universal health problems, you guys could live forever and enjoy your money. But instead, you create this hate and you create these fights among people and you destroy. I don't know if I make sense, but this is a great American podcast and I just want to talk about stuff. And this is not even in my notes. My notes, I don't know what happened to I wrote other stuff, but I wrote about a universal basic income, UBI. Everybody is talking about AI and they're using all this data to make all these AI algorithms, and the data is coming from us. So if you're using my data, shouldn't I get paid for it? I think that's what a US government or all these governments should do. The data should be locked up within a it should be under the power of people. There should be some leader or some in charge of it. And that data can be rented out, where it was basically cleaned out, so you don't have individual personal information, but and these companies can rent that data, but for that they have to pay some money, and that money should be used for UBI, universal basic income. If you're going to use my data, you got to pay me. That's only fair. And that would solve a lot of imagine if your basic needs are met, your food and a place for you to stay. Now it will help people to create more, do better things, not the things that are required, but the things that they want to do. That is a perfect world. I mean, in fact, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard in Korea they have a system where until you are 30 years old, once you finish your college till you're 30, I don't know if it's true, but if it's true, it's something cool. They get free accommodation in the city, like Seoul or wherever, their capital city, and all these younger people are moving there, and now that because they got free accommodation, they're all living in the city, and they're getting to know more people. They're working together, and a lot of these houses are basically it's like if it's free accommodation for people between 20 to 30 years in New York City. And all those office space is going for waste now. There is no, you're forcing people to go to office, and now people drive, there's traffic, there's pollution and all that, when people can do the same task at home and also save time. And that office space could actually be used for housing for young adults between 20 to 30. So if they don't have to worry about living costs, they could actually put their time on building their lives. And I heard in Korea, at 30, when they have to move out of that housing, is when people get married, because they meet in those houses, but because they're getting free housing, They don't get married, so they're literally single people between 20 to 30. Just all they're doing is figuring out what makes them who they are and what is the profession they want to go through. They got 10 years to figure it out, pursue their dream. And if they achieve it, good for them. If they don't achieve it, at least they found a path that makes them have a happy life, or whatever. At least there is a chance. I'm not saying everybody is going to figure it out, but I think that's beautiful. Maybe we should focus on that. Things like, there are so many things we could do other than hate. So as a great American, all I ask you is, before you hate someone, just read up about them. If in your head you're like, you find something, you're like, why is it this way? Why are they that way? Read up about it. There is usually a reason. Once you get rid of all that like judgmental crap, usually there is a reason and usually it's because of oppression, that culture, that bad or weird thing came into that culture. And if you can get to the core of it, it's easy to educate people. If people know why that custom is there, and the origin of it, there is a better chance they will unlearn it. You want to make the world a better place, it's really in our hands. As great Americans, that's what we should focus on. That's what I ask you to focus on. If you like my podcast, that's my request. Stop hating. It's just not worth your time, bro. If someone is hating on you, hate the situation they are in. For me, I've been used to this since I was a kid. People come at me, they try to tell me I'm dark, implying that I won't be as successful, and implying I won't be as successful. But in my head, I'm thinking wow, you had to go there to make yourself feel better, that I'm dark, so you must have been intimidated by me. I don't know, that's just the vibe for me. People try to, once I moved to America, people try to focus on my accent. Wherever I go, they bring it up, my accent. They always want to bring that up. And I'm like, are you trying to imply that because of my accent, I'm not good enough? But hey, I'm a comedian. I tell jokes. And people pay to laugh, to come and see me talk in my accent now. Now who's laughing? The same people, when I'm a lot of my people that I thought are friends too, they would they would feel uncomfortable with my accent for me, but I was never uncomfortable because I'm never hey, I've been there. When I was a kid, people try to imply because you're dark, maybe you won't be successful because you don't have, you won't, I don't know what their logic was, but I'm like, if that makes you feel better. Or they would try to, adults, now they try to figure out which caste you belong to, and if you belong to their caste, they're more extra friendly to you. And I always tell my name Vishnu Vaka, which doesn't give them my caste, and they're but I'm I just tell them, but I don't give them that, and that throws them off. But if and then people if they treat me good, that means they're with me. They like me. If they don't treat me good, that means they don't like me. I don't have to worry about that middle bullshit. And same with accent. A lot of people ask me hey, you're in America for so long, why didn't you try to change your accent? I don't know. Every time I try to change my accent, I did not feel authentic. I used to watch I went to high school in West Virginia, and I went to college in West Virginia, and then went to Ohio. And these are pretty, a lot of them are more white people than people of color. But the thing is a lot of them were trying to speak in Italian accent because everybody was so into all these Al Pacino and Robert De Niro movies. And I was okay, then because why are you trying to speak like them? Because they're proud of their accent. And I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of my accent. My only job is to make myself understandable, but other than that, I have no reason to change who I am or what my accent is, because I'm not ashamed of it. So when people try to imply that I'm less than them because I have an accent, it makes me laugh because I'm like, wow, like that's where you get your redemption from. Like you couldn't come figure out that maybe you couldn't figure out you're stronger than me or you're smarter than me, or but you go there. That means that tells me you're weak, because that's a easy target, right? Like, but anyways, thank you guys. I wrote a lot of stuff, but that's a long, I don't know how long was it, but I think I covered a lot. I'm going to I know it's not as funny, I'm like lecturing you, but I hope it made sense. I'm just ranting because I've been thinking about this stuff. If you want to hear my jokes, come to my shows. Here it's more like me pondering about stuff. I hope you liked it. I hope if it gave you some thoughts to think about, I'm more than grateful. That you're here. I'm happy. I'm happy you're here. If my rantings gave you some new thoughts or new ideas or new tangents to go on, I'm grateful that I could help you with that. But thank you for being here. I love you guys. You are a great American. If you're watching my podcast, you are a great American. Remember that you are a great American. Even if you're not an American, you're not from America, you live in like somewhere in like Vietnam, you're still a great American. Because America, as far as I'm concerned, is about freedom, about free speech, and love. These are all the things I'm defining America with. Because why does the flag got to be, someone got to hijack the flag? Because American Revolution inspired a lot of revolutions around the world. So even if you're not in America, you're still a great American by listening to my podcast. So welcome to being a great American. That is the conclusion of my third episode. I'm going to come back with more episodes. I'm also going to restart my Mahabharata. I'm going to I did 2 episodes. If you can listen to them, listen to them. But I might take them down and like redo them, or I might continue. I'm going to go through those episodes. If I'm still good with them, I'm going to continue with them. If not, I'll change them a little bit. But I'm going to start that podcast. But thank you for being here and listening to me. I'll see you guys soon. Great Americans. And go Buckeyes. See you later.